American senators have warned Ukraine against undermining its anti-corruption progress. Democrat Jeanne Shaheen and Republican Lindsey Graham issued a joint statement regarding the law passed by the Verkhovna Rada and signed by the president. We are concerned, they write, that this law undermines a significant part of the fight against corruption that Ukraine has been waging since the Revolution of Dignity. We acknowledge, they add, that Ukraine continues to make progress on this front, and we urge the authorities to refrain from any actions that would undermine this progress. Shaheen and Graham expressed their conviction that it is in the interests of both Ukraine and the United States to meet the expectations of society and to ensure reliable governance, which will serve as the foundation for Ukraine's economic prosperity and further American investment. Thousands of posters, each with a unique message, laptops instead of placards in hand, and the sound of the trembita in the center of the capital. Protests over the draft law on NABU and SAPO once again echoed throughout Ukraine yesterday. For the second evening in a row, Ukrainians are trying to urge the authorities to repeal the controversial law. Odesa, Lviv, Dnipro, Zaporizhzhia, Lutsk, Uzhhorod, rallies took place in 24 cities. The largest crowd gathered in the center of Kyiv. Police counted over 9,000 protesters. The protest lasted until late at night. There are plans to continue it today as well. So what does the government need to do to satisfy Ukrainians? TSN correspondent Olena Hushchyk has also returned from the epicenter of events.
It's the second day of protests in the capital, and by the feel of it, there are a lot more people today than yesterday. And besides the protesters, the number of signs and the variety of slogans shouted by Kyiv residents are also increasing.
It's not even 8 yet, which is the announced start time of the protest. It's already getting a bit crowded for Ukrainians on the square. Nevertheless, there are friendly hugs here and constant chants.
Ukraine above all. We have no law.
And among all that, familiar Ukrainian psalms.
And we will proudly raise the vibrant red viburnum for the whole world to see.
Civilians and veterans chant together.
I feel that I have to be here today.
Those who are at a rally for the first time, and those who haven't missed a single one.
Since that Maidan, I brought my son along. At one gathering, I realized he was 15. So yesterday, I kept sending him information. He says, "Mom, why are you sending me this? I'm already here."
There are older people, but most are young. Some people know the law, others just feel the need to be here.
He's not fighting so that our government can seize power. My husband is fighting so that we can live in a democratic and free country.
There are guys in balaclavas wandering through the crowd. However, they insist they wear them just for their own peace of mind.
It's just in case.
Why are you wearing masks?
Simply because I already had activist experience where I was filmed for Russian TV channels.
You're not planning any provocations?
Absolutely not. We're not planning anything. We came here as peacefully as everyone else.
Everyone has the same demand, to repeal Bill 12414. That is, to once again make NABU and SAPO independent from the Prosecutor General's office. There are 2 ways to do this: either gather 45 deputies' votes and submit the document to the Constitutional Court, or create a new bill that overrides the provisions of the previous one. Taking the second route is much faster than going through the court.
Closer to 8 o'clock, a statement appears on the president's page, in which Volodymyr Zelensky says he will propose to the Verkhovna Rada a bill that, I quote, will ensure the strength of the law enforcement system and there will be no Russian influence whatsoever. Everyone here saw this, but it seems that no one was satisfied with this response. They say they want action, not words from the president.
Until we see the text. These are just words.
We're waiting for action. We are waiting for action.
You can read what the people are waiting for on almost every sign here. They're written on their knees right during the rally, in coffee shops, on the curbs near the metro.
What did you write there?
I am a citizen of a sovereign state with feelings, and they just laughed without me.
That's what I wanted to write, but that's just... There are so many posters that people on social media have started joking. The rally was ordered by box manufacturers or creative agencies.
Don't throw away the cardboard. We'll recycle it later and buy an F-16.
Among the most active leaders are the dogs. The furry ones are chanting slogans like "Woof" and "I'm here to bark."
They're citizens of our country too.
It's already past 9 in the evening, and people are still coming to the center of Kyiv. More than 9,000 people are singing in unison. Part of it is accompanied by the trembita.
It's been a week since they said there would be a new draft law. The trembita is a musical instrument that used to give a certain signal. That's why we're sending a certain signal, so that we are finally heard.
In other words, so that the draft law is cancelled. Olena Hushchyk, Ivan Pavlovich, TSN 1+1.
An alternative law, an appeal to the Constitutional Court, and pressure from international partners. These are the three ways to correct the mistake made by the Ukrainian authorities, who limited the independence of NABU and SAP. The ways out of the crisis were announced by Member of Parliament Yaroslav Yurchyshin in an exclusive interview with TSN. The initiative to restore the independence of the anti-corruption bodies can come from either the President or the Parliament. To do this, a relevant draft law needs to be submitted to the Verkhovna Rada. This is the fastest way. An appeal to the Constitutional Court and a final decision could drag on for months or even years, the MP explains. And this will likely put a pause on financial aid from international donors, which poses a real threat to Ukraine's existence during wartime, explains Yaroslav Yurchyshin.
There is a cooperation program with the International Monetary Fund. There is the Ukraine facility, which clearly states that money is given for reforms. And if the authorities roll back reforms, then until they fix it, sorry, there will be no money. A small totalitarian Ukraine will never win against a big totalitarian Russia.
Do you agree with Deputy Yurchyshin? Be sure to write your thoughts in the comments under this broadcast on YouTube. And of course, give us a like and subscribe to the channel. Meanwhile, I will continue with the TCH online broadcast.
The president of Ukraine hears what society is saying and sees what people expect from state institutions. Volodymyr Zelensky wrote about this in his social media in response to the peaceful protests of Ukrainians and shared a photo from a meeting with the heads of agencies. In the photo, in particular, are the heads of law enforcement and anti-corruption agencies, as well as the prosecutor general. Zelensky stated that criminal proceedings in Ukraine should not drag on for years without lawful verdicts, so necessary decisions will be made to unite and strengthen the work of all responsible institutions. And another meeting, the president reports, is already scheduled for next week. And for another one, they are supposed to agree on and, most likely, present a joint action plan to the public. And following the meeting at the president's office, NABU and SAP also published a joint statement in which they criticized the new legislative changes, arguing that these limit their independence. From now on, the anti-corruption officials say they have been deprived of the guarantees that previously allowed them to effectively carry out their tasks and functions in combating corruption. To restore their full operations, they see clear steps at the legislative level as necessary, steps that would return the guarantees revoked by the deputies. At the same time, they stated that they will continue their work in the interests of the Ukrainian people and once again thanked everyone who cares for their principled stance and support. They called on international partners to fully support Ukrainians in their fight against aggression. The new powers of the Prosecutor General allow various law enforcement agencies to assist each other. Ruslan Kravchenko stated this at a briefing, commenting on the adoption of the controversial law regarding NABU and SAPO. The Prosecutor General announced the possibility of giving new momentum to criminal cases that have not been investigated for years. With the legislative changes, the Prosecutor General now has the ability to form a group of prosecutors from different agencies or a joint investigative team with NABU and other law enforcement bodies. According to Ruslan Kravchenko, this should make criminal investigations more effective. The Prosecutor General also added that he does not plan to interfere in personnel decisions at the Special Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office and once again assured journalists that he does not intend to take cases away from NABU, including those involving top officials.
Taking away criminal cases en masse and handing them over to other law enforcement agencies. No, that will not happen because NABU, SAP, and other law enforcement agencies will continue to carry out their activities as they have, and will remain under the Prosecutor General. But first and foremost, as I told you yesterday, I will pay attention to those criminal cases that have been under investigation for a long time, specifically 1, 2, 3 years or more, without any procedural decision being made.
The international community is not staying silent either. The Czech Foreign Minister, Jan Lipavsky, emphasized in a phone conversation with Andriy Sybiha that support for Ukraine is not a carte blanche for any actions by the government. The diplomat wrote that Prague is closely monitoring the situation in Ukraine and reminded that the fight against corruption is an important part of the path to joining the EU. The German colleague Johann Wadefuhl also held a phone conversation with the Ukrainian Minister of Foreign Affairs. He stated that Germany expects Ukraine to consistently fight against corruption. By the way, Wadefuhl met with the heads of NABU and SAP during his recent visit to Kyiv. The French side is calling for the controversial law to be reconsidered and insists that it is not too late to fix everything. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen had a conversation with Zelensky on this matter. She is concerned about the law and is asking the Ukrainian government to provide an explanation. Concerns have also been expressed in Sweden and the Netherlands. Meanwhile, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development has warned Kyiv that an attack on anti-corruption agencies will negatively affect defense investments in Ukraine and funding for reconstruction. The relevant letter has come into the possession of European Pravda. EU leadership notes that, for now, they will not be suspending their assistance. Meanwhile, Radio Liberty commentator Richard Jozwiak reports that one of the possible consequences for Ukraine of obstructing the work of NABU and SAPO could be the suspension of visa-free travel. Such a measure has already been threatened against Georgia. The president will propose a response bill to Parliament that will strengthen the law enforcement system. He announced this in his evening address. Zelensky also noted that he had signed a decree to reduce bureaucratic procedures and to conduct an immediate audit of state expenditures.
I will propose to the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine a bill that will serve as a response, that will strengthen the law enforcement system, and there will be no Russian influence or interference in the activities of law enforcement agencies. And, which is very important, all provisions ensuring the independence of anti-corruption institutions will be included. And I am very much expecting concrete proposals from our group of leaders of law enforcement and anti-corruption agencies from the Prosecutor General of Ukraine.
Proposals, those provisions that need to work. This will be a presidential bill, and we will implement it as part of our state transformation strategy.